Hello everyone, and welcome to yet another Waystone Games live stream. This is going to be the community catch-up, which is what we have on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. It is 11:03. That's because the trailer is like 2 minutes long. And
it's true.
Yeah.
The trailer started exactly on time, though. So
I know.
That's some quality.
I'm so good at this. Anyway, I'm Brad Pluto Raymond, the assistant community manager here at Waystone Games. This is Alex Gasty Hetu, who does something here. I don't know.
I mean, some things.
Things every now and then. I come over. Actually, most of the time, Gasty spends at work is walking around the office waiting for his build to compile.
I spend a lot of time to compile.
Yeah.
I wish we had incredible build.
But he walks around with his Nerf bat, and every time he walks over my desk, I'm like, "Are you compiling?" And he's like, "Yep, that's what I'm doing." But he is our lead system designer, so he has all the information and knowledge and maths in his brain to talk about whatever you guys want. We do have a great, hopefully, show for you lined up. We're going to be talking about some... you haven't been on since ItemPalooza and Matt V2
It's been a while. There's been some big changes to Dunggate
and you haven't been on to talk about
on the stream, so this will be a good opportunity.
So we're finally doing kind of an ItemPalooza wrap-up, a post-mortem. We'll be talking about a little bit about Matt V2, and we'll be talking about the newest shaper released onto the Dunggate, who is Asha Bell, and what we think about her, and from a balanced perspective, what Gasty intends to do with her, all that kind of stuff. But first, it wouldn't be a community catch-up without the community. So we're gonna go ahead and show you guys this. We're echoing with each other. Is that what we're doing?
Themed. We got keep
Stay away from
keep my personal space. We gotta keep it in.
Let's see. I don't have a second stream up, so I guess it's literally just through your microphone. So I'll just talk a little bit quieter, and Gasty will talk a little.
We'll just be less energetic. We'll just bring it down a notch.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, I was too energetic, guys. I'm just gonna really chill.
How about the Dunggate?
Desktop screen region is where we're gonna go, and we're gonna show you guys. The first thing we like to do in the community catch-ups is always just talk about, what's going on in the community, what you guys are talking about, what we'd like to see. The first thing that I have pulled up is the Dunggate app for Android. So somebody has actually developed an Android app where you can see Shaper stats, abilities, item descriptions, and the current free week rotation. It's purely Android right now. Like Alice was playing with it on her phone last night. And she was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. It's pretty interesting." I was like, "Oh, let me check it out. I have an iPhone. I can't get it."
What a scrub.
So, Javi2137, get on it. Get on that iPhone app. But you can see some pictures of it here. I think it looks really nice. Like, this is actually some really... Like, you can see he took out the, the solo queue. Is it solo? That's custom. The custom kind of stained glass image. And I think it looks great.
This is super awesome. It's exciting for both us and for the community to see all these tools start to get made, because we go home, we play the game, just like our players do. So it's useful for us too. I know Dave, our lead producer, he was talking about how he was going to be looking at it, on one of his trips he was recently going on. So
I like this whole builds into kind of thing and builds from, because it's pretty much like a fully functioning item shop at that point. Like, you can go in and you can't really make a build per se, but at least you can plan out builds and stuff like that. And I have to say, especially since you haven't been on since ItemPalooza, all these item icons turned out fantastically.
They are awesome. Props to Kyndra and Nick Cole for really knocking it out of the park with these icons, for sure.
It's so good. And let's see. So that's awesome. So if you have an Android, please go check out that app. Be sure to also visit the subreddit that we're looking at, reddit.com/r/Dunggate. The second thing I wanted to pull up is Wayward516's Desecrator fan art. This is completely in early stage here, but I think it already looks really, really cool, and I'm excited to see the fully colored product and stuff. He did tell us, I believe it was in the Reddit comments or maybe on Twitter, that here we go. I even asked him, do you plan on coloring and everything? Kind of has a shitty Wacom tablet, but that's okay. But he does plan on fully coloring it and stuff, and we're super excited to see the finished product. And this kind of just, I want to reiterate, if you guys are doing fan art out there, or you have any inkling to draw something, please do, because it's really, really awesome to see. And even from base stuff, oh man, I wonder if that. Did you see the sparkle dibs the other day? I wonder if that's still somewhere on here. Sparkle? Can I just
Sparkle dibs?
Sparkle?
So trying to find anything that's happened on Reddit is, I'm pretty sure, literally impossible.
There it is. Found it.
Oh, there it is. You found
Sparkle.
it. You proved me wrong.
Look at this.
I cannot use the Reddit search engine at all.
Look at this. Look at this Sparkles dibs. That's so good. I love it. He's just popping his W and he's just yelling Sparkles, and it's adorable. So we have the Desecrator line art. We have this any stage of your art or like any artistic talent that you have, we would love to see it. I would love to share it. You know, like it doesn't have to be like perfectly done in Photoshop and amazing. It can be done in Paint. Like there was another thread that
the MS Paint thread, the incredible MS Paint thread.
Can I find that too? Can lightning strike twice? I don't think so.
That's
wait, I can do this. Watch this.
That's a large ask.
Search.
No, this never works. This is impossible.
I think it was called Paint. Boom, found it. God, you're bad at Reddit. You're terrible at Reddit. So here, this guy was giving away pack skins for MS Paint masterpieces of your favorite shapers, and let's just start at number 7. Let's see what Hake did. Amazing Zeri art, Silence Critics. Okay. Weary Apollo, number 6. So perf.
So good.
Much luxurious. Oh, fantastic, Renzo. Well, that's a pretty cool Freya. That's like a really dark kind of stylized Freya. I like that.
Even this MS Paint art is like incredible to me. Right?
Yeah.
I have no artistic capabilities
do any of these
whatsoever.
Yeah.
So seeing these are like magic, right? Like when a graphics engineer comes over and he's like, the Taylor series has a negative sign and that made it so that our graphics just displayed dark. I'm like, yes, I understand that. That makes sense to me why that would happen. When somebody takes a pencil and they make a thing on a paper, which is not just like scribbles, I'm just like, are you a wizard?
How did you do that? That's insane. Let's say that's a good carrot dibs right there. That's really good. I like that a lot. Seakunks. I haven't even seen the top 2, so this is going to be new for me. I haven't seen any of these actually. Battlecry. That's a great Cal. Look at that hair.
That's some quality MS Paint skills.
Whatever they did to that, whatever that technique is called, is cool. Because it looks like it gives it depth. It gives it hair.
I think it's called art skills. That's the technique they used.
Look at that. Look at that Moya hugging that otter. That's adorable.
This is, I think, my favorite.
That's really
even if I don't know what number 1 is, but I think this should have.
Do we even need to look at number 1?
Right.
I feel like we shouldn't. All right, Goomba Queen. You better have one up this thing because that thing is beautiful. Oh, the comic.
That's true.
We're called out. Fall back to base. Where do you think you're going?
That's true. That's pretty good.
That is really good. It's not as like adorable as this, but there's like a story and there's like a gameplay significance.
Right. There's a whole narrative arc, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In the middle, you're like, what's going to happen? What's going on?
I really see these characters grow and develop over these 3 panels because they're saying, oh, we need to fall back to base, and then they're going to hell.
It's basically as suspenseful as Game of Thrones.
That's incredible. That's a really good comic. There was another one that was really funny. I hope it got upvoted, wherever it might be. It was the one with the. Did you see the new Stealth Shaper?
I did not see this one.
You didn't see the Stealth Shaper? Oh man, where is it? It's got to be here somewhere. Hold on. Oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to find it in time. Oh well, it was new Stealth Shaper with a winter skin in the snow, and it was just a white canvas. And that was it. It was really, really good. It was a quality troll. I can't find it. I probably passed it up because I'm silly. But yes, if you guys have any fan art, please share it with us on Twitter, twitter.com/dunggate, or facebook.com/dunggate. If you want to message it to us on our Facebook, I will of course look at it and share it, and be very, very happy to do so. I still can't find it. I'm very sad about that. Anyway. There was another thread that popped up yesterday. It was a new player would prefer not to suck at Dunggate.
That is
have a few
good preference.
It is.
As opposed to being like, I aspire to be the worst.
New player, I want to be bad. Give me help to be bad. So it's a new guy. He's been playing League for a while. As a lot of people coming into the Dunggate have done. They usually have a little bit of MOBA experience. And he was just asking, what is different? What do I need to know? And people were actually really helpful, and I was really excited to see this, talking about, take a look at the spirit wells, take a look at how the guardian works, the parasite, the striders are attached to it. There was just so much helpful kind of knowledge and stuff in these wall of text, just knowledge bombs being dropped on him.
It's true.
That I hope he is appreciative, A, and B, becomes a better Dunggate player because of it. So good to see the community instead of coming in and saying, noob, feeder, you suck, go back to League, it's people actually legitimately helping, Ed Viper here mentioning MOBA Champion in the Shapers Guild, and just giving him a nice wall of text to hopefully he takes this to heart, and he wasn't like, I wasn't expecting a wall of text, I don't want to read that, because you do need an introduction to the game. Everyone starts somewhere. So thank you, community, for helping him out.
For sure.
Another a video that was posted. It's technically more of a league related video. Like it had league as its background, but the message that it got across was really really strong and powerful in my opinion. I don't think you watched it, right?
I have not seen it yet.
You've not seen it. You should definitely watch it when you get a chance. But pretty much what it is it's the video is titled like why I love League but hate playing it. And it's like it's almost a conundrum there, but he pretty much just talks about the mindset of like when he first started playing MOBAs and stuff, they were it was fun. It was, there was no meta. I could play anything else. I could play AD Swain, I could play AD Anna, all this kind of stuff. But now later in the life cycle, it's become so rigid and non-flexible that people are yelling and being toxic towards people that, don't adhere to the norms.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you start to have less and less fun with the game, and then all of a sudden you're not playing it anymore. Or maybe you're just watching it, or maybe you're just like, man, reminiscing about the good old days. So the general consensus of the video, or the general theme I was trying to get across is Ariat kind of says be awesome to each other, and the other caveat was be the change that you want to see.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, these players that are going in and playing something unconventional that are getting flamed may go into their next game and flame themselves on other players, and then all of a sudden you have created a toxic player.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden everyone else has a bad experience because of that toxic player. So, pay it forward. Be the change you want to see. Be nice to that next person, and then they will hopefully be nice to that next person, and then all of a sudden we have a good community. Be excellent to each other. I'm pretty sure that's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I think. I don't know that. Party on, dudes. But yes, I mean, it while it is framed in a League of Legends kind of thing, it is a great message, and you should definitely give it a look. And
the message applies to all MOBAs.
Exactly. So. It applies to all games. It applies to life, pretty much.
It's true. It's a good life message.
Yeah, just be nice to someone.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick is the message. I would definitely, just apply it to everything. Just be like, I try to strive to, at least once in every game I play, just to, say something nice about someone. Even if they're feeding, maybe they had that one really good play, and you're like, damn, that was a good play. Tell them that,
He may be 0-10, but, the way you backed the base there, that was top notch.
The way you hit B in that brush, oh my God, are you a pro player? Yeah, absolutely. Just, and then hopefully they take that kindness and they're nice to another person, they're nice to another person. It all has a ripple effect. So please, be nice, be awesome to each other. And yes, Paper Crane did just turn on the blue light for you. Now, getting more into the meat of the day and the discussion and stuff like that is Mr. Gasty himself talked about on the Money Pigs podcast, or in their chat specifically, about a kyndra we work that is
true.
Down the line.
There were some leaks.
There's some leaks. I'm gonna try to plug this dam eventually, but I can't really do that well because I'd have to just plug Gasty's mouth. And
That's right.
Seems dubious.
I like leaking things.
So what you said in this chat is that Kyndra's getting a new ultimate that doesn't make her targetable / not as defensive oriented. So one of the things that a lot of people have been complaining about is the fact that, she's an assassin and she has this ult that makes her untargetable, and then whenever she's out of her ulti, all of her cooldowns are practically back up, and it's just it's pretty much a shit show.
It's pretty much a shit show. That's a good way to put it. So Kyndra has a bunch of kind of problematic parts of her design that sort of came out of a legacy area of dunggate, right? For those of you who have been in the game for a really long time, you may recall some of the crazier periods near the beginning of the game where, the destruction had 90 power in addition to a bunch of other stuff, right? Like that, basically, the game was at about 150% of the damage that it is right now back in the day. So it was an interesting exploration for us that Dibs could articulate more clearly, but in terms of shaper design, we hit a place where we were like, well, damage output in the game is so high that squishy melee characters like Freya or Kyndra need really extreme things added to their kit to have them survive. So in the case of Freya, it was CC, right? Normally, really high damaging melee carry type characters, you don't see them have the ability to do large amounts of bursts with 4 seconds of hard CC on their kit, right? But that was sort of a necessity given the state of the damage of the game. And it's sort of still a necessity for her, even though we've been able to tone her down a little bit. Kyndra is no different, right? Basically, she was in a scenario where she needed to have these extremely powerful defensive steroids in order to successfully assassinate and get out. But now that the game's more balanced, right, we've come a long ways in terms of iteration on the game and tuning. it's just not necessary anymore, right? That many defensive steroids are not required for her to be able to do her job, and in some ways it hinders her ability, right? Because we've had to tone her damage output down in comparison to other burst mages like Amaranth or Zalgus in order to compensate for her defensive tools. So we're looking to kind of give her some love, right? Take another look at her design going forward and say, what here doesn't make sense anymore, right? So in the upcoming patch, we're looking at, and it will come in 2 drops. So there'll be, the next patch will contain some immediate
number hits,
some immediate nerfs to her in order to address the current state that she's in, and then in the near future, she will be getting her new ultimate, which will kind of round out the new design for her kit. So things to look forward to in the next patch is her shield is getting removed. It's being replaced with a minor slow. Her heal is being reworked. She will still have a heal, but on average, she will be healing for less. In fact, the way it works right now is not how... If I were to poll people, I was like, in fact, I did this in the office. I was like, how do you think Kyndra's all heal works? And they were like, I think it works like this. And I'm like,
her Q heal.
Her Q heal. I'm like, you're not wrong in thinking that, but you are wrong in that it doesn't actually work that way. So the way it works right now is for every projectile that her Q sends out that hits a target, she will get a heal. So if she hits one target with all 5 projectiles,
it's 1 heal.
It's 5 heal. It's 5x heal.
Right now, you mean?
Right now on prod. On prod, it is 5x a heal.
But new,
it'll be the way that it kind of makes more intuitive sense, which is it'll be based on number of targets hit. So if you hit 1 target, you'll just get 1 heal instead of 5.
Even if you hit him with every blade.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So that'll tone down the amount of healing she gets. Her shield will be removed, and then we are making her ultimate more offensive in nature rather than defensive in nature.
And obviously more to come on that. We don't want to. It's still very early in testing and whatnot, but Gasty obviously hard at work on just changing it to make it more fun. Even though she won't be losing her, she'll still be Kyndra.
She'll still be Kyndra, right? She'll still be able to go in, murder somebody, and hopefully trigger her reset and then get out. That is kind of the gameplay that we really wanted to maintain with her. But she has a bunch of other stuff tacked on, which makes it really frustrating. Another part that's frustrating against her is she does it all immediately. You don't have time to react to her right now. She does QWER in 1 second.
Yeah.
We're looking to try to space out her damage a little bit to give you more time to react, right? Be like, oh, she's here, let me stun her and actually blow her up, as opposed to her doing everything instantly. Yeah. So that's another goal with some of the updates as well.
Well, there you go. Expect the Kyndra nerfs / slight ult rework, not slight ult, an ult rework period in the near future. The next thing that we want to talk about is, since we haven't had Gasty on in a really long time, and by a really long time I mean since ItemPalooza Map V2, which was like,
it's been a while,
a month and a half, 2 months ago.
It's been a busy time.
We wanted to talk about just how has ItemPalooza been for us, that kind of stuff. So ItemPalooza, it was a huge rework to the item system. They still gain their kind of tiered, basic, advanced, legendary stuff, but the items themselves were changed. I think we added, 60? It wasn't 60 new items. How many new items do we have?
We added
a lot.
A lot. There was probably close to 35 or 40 brand new items, and then probably another 20 or 30 got reworked in some meaningful way.
So it's a completely new game practically. I know a lot of people that have come to me and they say, "Oh, I haven't played it in a few months. What's going to be different?" I'm like, you're in for a treat, because Map V2, ItemPalooza, it's going to be a lot. So ItemPalooza itself, what goals did you set out? Like, what were the goals of ItemPalooza, and do you think that the current iteration has met those goals?
Right. So the goals for ItemPalooza were relatively simple at a high level. It was passives are fun. They're more interesting than just stats, right? They change your gameplay in a more meaningful way. So we wanted to introduce stats at an earlier stage, right? We wanted basically every advanced item to have stats. Most of the basic items, or most of the advanced items should have passives. Most of the basic items should have passives, right? We wanted to try to introduce that gameplay earlier. And we also wanted to make it so that the items were more impactful. We basically wanted to shift the power curve from stats, right? Most in the pre-itemization rework, most of your power just came from raw stats, right? Power, haste, etc. And that's still true to an extent now, but we wanted to tone some of that down and then make it so that more of the impact of your character was based around these interesting passives, because those will be a little bit more flavorful. They'll be able to impact your play a little bit more, right? You can buy an item like Duress, gain a hard CC on your kit that otherwise it may not have had, right? That'll let you do more damage, so it's kind of mathematically can be equated in some ways to just more power, right?
Yeah.
You'll get an extra basic attack on, etc.
But it's got flavor to it.
But it has more flavor, right? It's more interesting. It allows a character to specialize a little bit more. So same with like an item like Impulse that allows Volek, who doesn't have a gap closer, to suddenly gain one on his kit if he's willing to sacrifice an item slot, which normally could have way more stats, right? He could have a destruction or a supremacy there, right? But instead he's like, well, instead of 90 power, I'll only get 10, right? But I can get a dash on my kit. Yeah. So open up more gameplay choices in addition to this kind of restructure the system to provide these interesting choices earlier was one of the big goals. And then we also took it as an opportunity to address some of the items which were boring but really effective, right? And that's like gameplay without power, or power without gameplay rather, which is never a good place to be in. You don't want to just give something for free if it doesn't actually create fun gameplay. So the old support items like Unity or Stamina,
the defensive auras,
right, where it was like, everybody on your team has 8% increased armor stats you can feel, right? It's like you would never notice that, but it's extremely effective in turning fights. So we would rather have, if we're going to have really effective support items, let's make them also really noticeable, right? Like Harmony, where it's resetting your cooldowns, or
Windstrike Aura,
or Windstrike Aura, or Pestilence, where it's like, giving a slow, right? We've tried to put really visceral stats you can really feel, like slows or attack speed or cooldowns, augmentation, onto items which previously were more just like free power and in a way you didn't notice.
Okay. Now, of course, with every change that comes in, there's going to be things we're happy with, things we're unhappy with. So what one thing are you most happy with about ItemPalooza? Starting there.
So I am most happy with the diversity in items. Like, there will always be flavor of the month things. Like right now, everybody's buying lots of Strife on the live environment, right? But generally speaking, looking through telemetry data and just anecdotally through playing games, you see a lot more diversity in builds than we did pre-itemization. Like, there is no, you don't see the exact same 6 items on Amaranth, and a different exact same 6 items on all ranged carries, right? Like, you see maybe 2 or 3 core items, which are often built, but then you see 2 or 3 very situational items based on playstyle or personal preference. So that's been really exciting, right? Like we see that if we look at, if we do telemetry, if we take telemetry for Michaela or Varian, and we're like, what items did they buy, right? It's like there's a pretty even distribution of like 20 or 25 items that like are
which is awesome. That's great.
Which is great, right? So that's been definitely one of the things that was one of our goals that we're really happy with how that's playing out.
Awesome. And unhappy.
Unhappy.
What's the bad news?
The bad news. The bad news is it's with a large change like ItemPalooza, it's always going to have balance outliers, and balance outliers are never fun, right? It's frustrating for us since we play the game all the time as well. It's frustrating for the community since you guys have to deal with it. So things like Pestilence on launch, right? Yeah. Things like Hope on launch were extremely powerful, and then that's sort of the fallout of a really, really big rework, because it's, out of 130 item changes or whatever, right? It's like 1 or 2 of them are a problem. That's pretty good percentage internally, right? But if there is only 1 or 2 problems, it can make all the difference, right? That can really, really lead to degenerate play and be sad. So we apologize for any of the others that have come out of ItemPalooza. We're trying to address them as quickly as possible. I think we're in a better state now, certainly than we've been at any other point previous since the launch of ItemPalooza. And the next patch coming soon should help to address the remainder of the issues. I know that lots of people are saying that some of the hybrid offensive defensive items that really make #Bruisergate, right? That make those are still a little strong. We agree. Some of them are being toned down in the next patch, and that should help to alleviate some of the remaining balance outliers, we hope, with ItemPalooza.
Yeah, it's definitely with live balance though. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint, obviously.
Absolutely.
So it's not like we're done, everyth's balanced, go. It's always like we balance this a little bit, but then this became flavor of the month, and maybe we realize now that's too strong, and so we'll balance that. It's an ongoing process.
Yep.
But as a whole, kind of at an empirical level, what was kind of the toughest new item to implement into ItemPalooza? Whether it's from a design standpoint, like how do I make this interaction work, or just from a like, my God, it's too strong.
It's definitely, I think, Pestilence. So which is interesting, right? Because I would not have expected that. Going into it, I'm like Defiance or Impulse, right? Will clearly be these,
monster items.
Monster items that are just impossible to balance, right? But I wanted to go for it. I think they are really cool. They open up cool options. Let's try it. And if it's problematic, we can tone it back or remove them, right? That's what beta's for. It's for trying things out. And they've kind of just worked, generally speaking, right? Like maybe it's because they're being overshadowed by more problematic things. Who knows? We'll see. But I've seen them being used to great effect, but generally speaking, because they're more situational effects instead of just like overarching, always effective stats, the ones that are just here's a ton of stats which are really effective, like Hope or like Pestilence, right? Those are more problematic. Pestilence has been definitely the most difficult to tune because of its it has some interesting interactions in the sense that it's on a ally and not on yourself. That inherently creates a lower chance you are making optimal use of it at all times, right? If you're by yourself, for example, it literally is doing super suboptimal for what you paid for it. And that's sort of one of the ways that we balance items, right? An example is an item that has 100% power. That's it. That item will be inefficient in terms of the amount of Vim you pay for it, because the chance that you are getting use out of it 100% of the time is really high, right? Just like a bunch of power is not situational. It is good always. Yeah. An item that has armor and magic resistance, right? That's going to give you a higher percentage of kind of free stats. We kind of give it a little bit of a boost because it's less statistically likely you will be taking advantage of magic resistance and armor simultaneously, right? You need to be it's unlikely you're taking equal amounts of magic damage and physical damage at all points in time. And as a result, the net effectiveness of that item is less likely to be met. Okay. So Pestilence has a similar concept where because it's very powerful, but it requires an ally, it gets that kind of premium. It gets kind of an extra boost because as an individual, it's difficult for me to take advantage of it all the time. But it does it in a way that no other item does. No other item has this like easy to understand, or an item like armor, magic resistance, like Hope, that's easy to understand. We can model that statistically and determine how much of a boost to give it without too much difficulty. An item like Pestilence is far more difficult because it's kind of a unique snowflake and it's in how it needs to have that premium. So it's been a challenge in that way, but that's what's cool about the item rework is trying out all these new different ways for items to interact. So
okay, now just kind of wrapping up the ItemPalooza discussion is a lot of the feedback that we've gotten, the hashtag BruiserGate stuff like that, has been on the tips of everyone's tongue. They've been talking about it, they've been complaining about it, all that kind of stuff, which, understandably so. All the strife and hopes and stuff like that are a little bit crazy. What are you looking at specifically to address to kind of hopefully quell the masses and beat BruiserGate essentially?
Right. So what we've done is we've basically taken a look at quite a large amount of telemetry data, and we look at a lot of shaper data for this as well. Like there's been a lot of shapers which are kind of trending towards the top of our spectrum in terms of how well they're performing, and this is broken down by skill rating, and we're moving things like mirror matches and looking at average Vim differential between the team, right? So we do a lot of filtering to determine what a quality match looks like in terms of data. It's not corrupted by wacky outliers. And there's certain shapers which are really trending to the top, right? Shapers like Ceruli and Revolic, right? More of the bruiser kind of characters that you're describing are, in those environments are trending to the top. So what we've done is we've looked at what items are most commonly purchased on those characters, and then look at the kind of performance of those items, as game time progresses with those shapers, and we're looking to identify which items are just outliers in the itemization system in general, right? Like it's not necessarily that Cerulean is too strong. We don't think he is, right? Same with Salas or Volic, right? But they all are buying some common items that are very clearly performing above some of the others. Okay. So we're looking to tone those down, as and because it's a series of dominoes with balance, everything affects each other. It will kind of hopefully help to tone down the hashtag BruiserGate.
Well, Well, hopefully it works. Hopefully people will be happy with it. Of course, there's going to be a new issue that people talk about, and it's a never-ending process with a live service such as this. But I did want to call out Celeste mentioned in chat, Turtlegate makes Strife better than power items. That kind of transitions to our next topic, which is pretty much the Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt V2 brought on this entirely new Guardian encounter with these cores, all of his abilities, him getting weaker as the cores get destroyed, stuff like that. And it was meant to solve this turtling issue that Map V1 kind of had. But a lot of people are seeing that it still can be turtle effectively, with the strength of some of the Guardians.
The turtle gate is still real, for sure.
Obviously, it didn't satisfy all the conditions that we wanted to meet. Turtle gate is still real, stuff like that. What exactly is going to happen to the Guardian now that it's still real?
The Guardian is an interesting problem in the sense, it's an interesting design problem in the sense that he is by design supposed to help the defenders have an advantage, right? He's supposed to be, if one team is, if the game is relatively even, the Guardian should help. Here's the goals, I should say. If the game is relatively even, the Guardian should be able to help swing a fight one direction or another. If the users interact with his abilities correctly, right? They hook people into
a bubble
into the beam
or into a Reaper beam. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So right now, his effectiveness is too high. If one team is very far ahead of the other, the Guardian will still cause that team to stall out before they can win the game. What we don't want to do is we don't want to just make the Guardian far less powerful, because we don't want to remove the ability for a defender's team to be like, if we just make one good play, we can turn this around. That's an important feeling to maintain. But at the same time, we need to solve the issue where players feel like victory is inevitable, and we have to slog through it until death timers hit a high enough point where we can win. One of the problems with that is one of the design goals behind Map V2 with the cores is the cores were meant to make persistent progress that you can make against the Guardian to make him easier to destroy, right? When before Map V2, if those of you haven't played dunggate long enough to see the pre-Map V2 version of the Guardian, the way he worked was he had no cores, and instead he had multiple health bars, and if you destroyed a health bar, it would not
regenerate.
You're right. Like, if you took it down a little bit, it would heal, but if you destroyed the whole thing, it would be gone for good. So the new Guardian design was to try to help make it so you can make easier persistent progress, right? More smaller discrete chunks of progress against the Guardian. The problem, as there's been some great discussion in the community recently. There's been a great Reddit thread. The Money Pigs podcast has had some really great discussions about this. Just individuals, just in game that I've been with have been talking about it and had some really good ideas. But the biggest issue is that it's sort of not delivering on some of our goals, in the sense that, as some of the community members have accurately assessed, right, as you destroy the cores in the front, the Guardian actually gets a little bit stronger, because the beam,
he starts using his strong
abilities more consistently.
Yeah.
So that has been a problem, because basically it creates this equilibrium where, like, you push in, but the Guardian gets stronger, then pushes you back out, and then, like, you keep seesawing between these states, and you can't end the game. So what we want to do is we want to deliver on our actual goal, right, of instead of the Guardian getting stronger as cores are destroyed, he should be getting easier to take as the cores are destroyed. So we don't want to make any giant changes. We want to kind of look at this in iteratively, right? So we'll be making some adjustments in this upcoming patch to try to address the issue, and then if it's not enough, we'll continue to make small adjustments until we get them in the right spot. What we're looking to do in this upcoming patch is there's two big things for changes to the Guardian. One is the cooldown. He has a global cooldown on his abilities that he will use. The global cooldown will be increased by 2 seconds for every core destroyed.
I believe, and you were telling me this as we were talking about it before, is his cooldown right now is 6 seconds base, correct?
Correct.
So just to clarify what that means is, if he does bubbles, he will now auto attack for the next 6 seconds until he queues up another ability, correct?
Correct.
So in the in the next patch, he will have 2 seconds more of just purely auto attacking per core destroyed.
Right.
So a maximum of an 18 second, I believe, is my math.
Well, if you destroy all 5 cores, he has no abilities, so that's kind of moot,
16 seconds.
If you destroy 4 cores, then he will, he will only have 1 ability left, and that ability will now effectively be on a 14-second cooldown instead of a 6-second cooldown.
Which seems like a really interesting change. What kind of brought you to that point? What was the design process there?
So it had to do with the feel, right? Because the cores are related to abilities, right? So like removing a core should, in terms of visceral feel, like if I'm not like doing the math, right? I'm just like playing the game. If when he's lost an ability, it feels like he should be using abilities less often, right? Because he is, as he's trying to use that ability is no longer there, and then I expect him to not be able to use it. So that should hopefully deliver on actually destroying cores does make him easier to kill without needing to really tone down the power of the abilities, right? So when he does use his beam, it can still vaporize people.
Do not stand in the fire,
right?
Obviously.
And you can still make great plays,
Yeah.
right? But it won't just be up. It won't be up like Cymerl says in chat, right? Like the fact that it lasts 4 to 5 seconds, and when it was on a 6-second cooldown, and that was the only core left
it was
alive.
Like beam.
Right. It was just, there was always a beam,
Yeah.
and given how strong it was, that was making the game really hard to close out. So this will keep it strong. It'll keep it cool. Players can still make plays with it and turn the game around. They'll just have they'll have increasingly lower opportunities to do it with every core destroyed. So the winning team should be able to make easier progress against it.
Okay.
Another change that was less around Turtlegate, and it's more around really good teams not being able to close out the game early because they're actually just dominating too quickly. If a team reached the Guardian at like 10 minutes, the Guardian's base damage was so high that
they just couldn't do it.
They just had to wait until they got higher level and farmed up to actually make progress, right? So what we're doing is we are also taking some of his base damages down, but increasing his scaling. So at later portions in the game, he will do the exact same damage with his abilities, but it'll just make the progression of his kind of damage ramp match the player progression more accurately. So that if you do, get to him early, you can just you can kill him as opposed to being pushed out until 25 minutes
until you reach his level.
Exactly.
Now he's kind of at your level, and it's obviously not based on your team level or anything. It's based on time in the game.
Right.
So I mean, I think those are two obviously great changes. Another question that someone asked, and we're not doing Q&A just yet, but this is kind of pertinent to the topic. Is a lot of people talk about the health core, that first core in the base. Everyone talks about Reaper Beam, Scatter Shot, Fireline, the bubbles, the crazy abilities, and everyone seems to kind of wash over the health core and say like, oh, I never notice it, or I never pick one up, or stuff like that.
Right.
Is there any changes that we're thinking about putting into the health core, maybe changing the core itself, making it stronger, anything?
We are absolutely looking at changes to the first core that is often destroyed. The plan right now that we are working on internally is to replace it entirely with a new ability. The reason for that is because of how quickly it gets destroyed. Right now, every core allows the Guardian to randomly select one of his abilities. Well, it's pseudo-random. He has targeting conditions, which will change his selection, but mostly random, right? The problem is he often will just not select that that core before it's even
destroyed. Yeah.
So you don't
because if you're already pushing into the base, like you're already pretty much destroying that core.
Right. So we're looking at changing that ability to something with a little bit of a different acquisition method in terms of how the Guardian will use it. To be right now, this is internal and this may never go live, right? But the method. What it does is in flux, so I won't talk about that, but the way it works is basically he will use it between every other one of his abilities so that you're seeing it, it's constantly happening, and you're seeing it, you're guaranteed to see it before that core is destroyed.
Yeah. So it's almost like a mini core, kind of.
It's still just as impactful. It's just different in how often it's being used to be appropriate for how quickly that core gets destroyed.
Yeah, because I guess the feeling there is like when let's say the health core is not destroyed immediately, which it almost always is. It's like if you see the Guardian throw health cores or health packs, you're like, oh, well, we won't get Reaper Beam, Fireline, or something else for another 6 seconds.
Right.
So it's like it's almost like a waste.
Exactly.
So
right.
in the new iteration that you're talking about, it is almost a constant effect that he doesn't choose over another core, but it's still equally important to destroy, obviously, because of that constant nature of the effect.
Right.
So,
exactly. That's how we're approaching it to try to solve the uptime issue of it just getting vaporized. So
we'll see. So with Map v2, ItemPalooza, Guardian, all that kind of crazy stuff out of the way, the last topic we want to talk about before we move into the Q&A portion for the last 10 to 15 minutes is Asha Bell. She's the newest shaper in the game. She is designed to be this kind of long-range siege, sustained damage mage, but as a lot of the community is giving us feedback, and as we're seeing the feedback, ourselves, is she in a good place? And if not, what are you looking at to balance her and kind of bring her up to where she should be?
So she's been tricky. I think that she's definitely underperforming. So she will be getting some love in the next patch. That's for sure. It's been difficult for us because she is such a high skill cap character. If you do it correctly, then she can be very effective. Her numbers are not bad, but the likelihood of doing it correctly is way too hard right now for the reward, right? I think somebody in chat said it the best, where they were like, she's high risk, zero reward.
Yeah, I
right?
remember that.
Where it's like, if you do it perfectly, you're a little bit more effective than Zalgus or Amaranth, maybe, right? But the chance of doing it less effective than Amaranth or Zalgus is super high, right? And it's difficult because, like, internally, right, like Waystone Moxie, who I think has like 2 accounts in like the top 15 on the leaderboard right now, is a very good player. He was like dominating with her, right? He was just like doing it perfectly, right? So like if she's played excellently, she can be very effective. So what we're looking to do in the upcoming patch is not necessarily increase her potential damage output, but just make it so that the skill required to reach a appropriate level of performance is not as high. Yeah. So basically,
you're dumbing her down a little bit.
Basically, if you play her optimally, she's on par with current mages, and just worse if you don't play her optimally. We're changing it so if you play her optimally, she will be above current mages, and if you play her suboptimally, she'll be down here, right? So it's more in line with that high skill cap kind of mage that we're looking for. So she'll be getting some basically lots of quality of life adjustments that should improve her effectiveness quite a bit.
Okay, awesome. Well, expect all that kind of stuff in the next patch. Patches being worked on, obviously, all the time. We always work on patches. It's crazy. But for these last little bit of the community catch-up, we do like to do Q&A. I know a lot of times people come into the chat when I'm streaming, and they ask questions that I don't know, and I say, hey, that's a Gasty question. And here's Gasty. He's right here.
I can answer them.
So please type a Q with a colon, just like this, and then type your question, and we will read it and hopefully answer it to the best of our abilities. There is kind of a delay, but Muzzy already doing something. So with more healing orbs dropped, is the locust healing being reduced for each core that dies?
In this patch, the locust healing is not being reduced. I completely understand the community reaction to being able to like dart back, heal, dart out, attack, dart back and heal, dart back and attack, and that is not behavior that we want, right? That is behavior which is we do not want to create. So I think that we will need to address that behavior. I don't necessarily want to address it by reducing the rate of healing based on cores or something that reduces the rate of healing in general, because under the 99% use case, right, the non-exploitive use case, that just makes it feel sad, right? Like, you're hurt, you go back, they're not sieging your base, you just want to heal up, right?
But your cores are down and it's taking forever.
Right. So we wouldn't want to necessarily impact the quality of life of the base regeneration platform, but we absolutely recognize the like tap dance of in and out, in and out, and in and out of the heal platform is bad. It's bad for the gameplay, and we need to address that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Free asked, did you see his thread about recastable abilities and the interaction between the recast time and cooldown? Did you see that?
I did not see that thread.
We'll look for it for you.
So I will look for that. If you want to make Pluto send it to me, and then I will respond to that.
If you want to message to me on Reddit free, I will pass him. It's Waystone Pluto on Reddit. So this is kind of the same question, Elman Beastio. Can we nerf Locust healing to stop 10 versus 5, or reposition the cores a bit? It's a good place to heal for any stage except in-game Turtle Gate. So I mean, I feel like the cores position is pretty set in stone, literally.
Yeah, it's unlikely we would change the cores. I mean, nothing's impossible. We could do it, but we're relatively happy with their placement right now. The problem you're describing is the same one that I think Blue Muzzy was talking about, which with this tap dance related to the beam and the bubble core, which are close to the locust, and players are able to kind of go out, fight, go back in, heal, go out, fight, go back in and heal. And that is absolutely problematic gameplay, and we need to address it, but we probably would... It's unlikely we would start with rearranging the cores. We'd probably want to hit that issue more directly.
Yeah, to the cores themselves. Okay. Blackchain321 asking a question that a lot of people have been asking. Are you doing anything to the Predator role?
Absolutely. So there are some big changes we are testing internally to Predator. They have too many dependencies on other new stuff for me to talk about in detail here, but I can talk about our goals behind it. Our goals for Predator I have 3 goals for Predator that I'll talk about. Goal 1 is we need to not make it sink or swim. Right now it's all based around getting kills, and that if you don't get kills early, you fall really far behind, and if you do get kills early, you get too far ahead. That risk reward is interesting, but the level of sink or swim is too high.
Yeah.
So we want to address that. Goal number 2 is we want Predator to be a viable alternative to Hunters for non-lane based gameplay. Mm-hmm. So you want to run around, you want to gank people, you want to kill people, but you don't want to focus on clearing NPC camps on cooldown. That's fine. That's what Predator hopefully should be able to support, right? In addition to maybe kill lane gameplay that it has now, but we want it to be a viable gameplay avenue outside of lanes as well. So we need to make sure that's viable. And then the third thing is it needs some sort of second to second based cadence gameplay that makes it that is driving your gameplay. Right now it has lots of minute to minute based gameplay, and what I mean by that is when am I making decisions based on this role. So gladiators, last hitting minions, that's every few seconds. Tacticians proccing their bonus, that's every few seconds. Yeah. Hunters clearing camps, that's generally every few seconds, at least in the beginning of the game. Predators, though, they're like, I want to get kills. Well, I always want to be doing that, so it doesn't really change my behavior that much. And I want to be raiding Spirit Wells. That's fine, but that's something that I only have the opportunity to think about every few minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm playing Predator, it doesn't feel like it's directing my gameplay or having a noticeable impact on my gameplay as much as the other 3 roles because of the cadence of its rewards. Mm-hmm. So that's also a avenue that we are wanting to address.
All right, well, we'll see what the future of Predator brings. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and hopefully, the people will obviously enjoy it. Let's see, questions. The Dotson, you've been asking this question a few times. Any info about passive Palooza?
So that's more of a Dibs question.
Are you deferring now to
I'm
Dibs?
I'm deferring that now to Dibs. As the lead Shaper designer, he's responsible for all Shaper-related development, and that's a big one, has to do with Shapers, so I don't want to speak out of turn around anything like that. I can say it's something that we want to do. We want to add passives to every Shaper that creates interesting gameplay. But other than that, I don't have too much information to share.
Now, you may also defer to Dibs for this, but do you know if that's something that we plan on doing all at once, or is it going to be like this patch, Kyndra gets a passive, and this patch, someone else gets a passive, or is it going to be like this patch, boom, passive Palooza, like ItemPalooza kind of happened?
I'm not sure. Okay. I can say that going forward, all the Shapers we release will have passives to be in line with passive Palooza.
Yeah, okay. So we'll see what happens in the future. Let's see. Jackson Fox says, how are you doing the quality of life changes for Asha Bell? I asked because she's currently his favorite Shaper.
We are doing things like looking at the cooldown, the radius of the Q, and some of the other kind of non-damage based number tunings around her kit.
Okay. Can you summarize the Kyndra change discussion from earlier? Sicker Tony, it'll be uploaded in the VOD on YouTube, youtube.com/WastestoneGames. So after the stream, I immediately kind of start the upload. It might take an hour or two, but it'll be up there eventually. But yes, check it out. Some good stuff in there. Is there going to be Strife nerfs in the future? We kind of talked about ItemPalooza. We talked about the hashtag BruiserGate and what you're doing to kind of break that. Strife nerfs?
So Strife will be getting adjusted in the next patch, along with a bunch of other items. So look forward to that.
There you go. Why the circle around Asha Bell free is asking. So I'm going to channel Dibs here because he's told me kind of the answer to this. So the fact that her W changes the range of her Gale, which is her Q. He felt it kind of necessary to have that constant range indicator since the range was changing so much depending on which stance and stuff you were in. Because not only does the range indicator give you the range of your Q, it also is kind of telling you which stance you're in as well of your W.
Yep.
So it is this important, very active kind of gameplay, and he wanted to make sure that he was conveying that in the most accurate sense. I believe, that's my best dibs answer. I'm sure if he wants to chime in or talk about that more, maybe we'll have him on the community catch up in a bit. But that's another time. Going off Free's question, will we be able to take off the circle around Asha Bell? That's interesting that you would want to kind of remove that kind of stuff. I don't
Once
know.
again, Ash Bell specific questions other than her number tuning is much more of a dibs question. I unfortunately cannot shed too much insights onto other aspects of her development.
Dibs stuff.
Just dibs things. Hashtag just dibs things.
Hashtag just dibs things. Are there any changes coming to bindings in patch 29?
So not in patch 29. However, in the next content patch, we will have binding updates.
And that's something that people have harped on for a long time. Especially, and it's kind of compounded on itself with ItemPalooza and the hashtag BruiserGate, because it's like bruisers are getting stronger, the armor is getting easier to buy, stuff like that. All of a sudden, bindings are less effective because of the armor, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So looking at bindings, obviously, would you agree with the community in that they are kind of in a sad?
Yeah, they should feel like safe havens, right? They should also be diveable. They should not stop gameplay. You should be able to dive successfully and have gameplay around them, but they should also feel safe in a way that they not feel as safe as we want right now. So we're making basically our binding changes are going to come in two big sections. One is going to be some reworks to the aggro system for how quickly they acquire targets and kind of their responsiveness, in addition to some number tuning. That'll be what's dropping probably in patch 30, and then we will be looking to add something more systemically unique to them to make them something other than just a static defensive structure that shoots one target in a patch further down the line.
Someone's asking any upcoming changes for Insight or Pursuit.
Insight is not getting adjusted in the next patch. However, Pursuit is getting adjusted in the next patch.
And someone else asked this question a little bit earlier. I don't remember who it was. I think it may have been Celeste. I'm not sure. But right now, Pursuit is like, I steal 55 move speed and I gain 55 move speed. Is that kind of the gameplay that is intended? Because it's like, I understand the concept of you are stealing exactly the move speed that you're stealing.
Right.
That sounds stupid. But is there maybe something with like making it more balanced by like maybe you gain a little bit less than what you actually stole, so that you're still like fast and quick, but you're not completely even or faster than them?
Right. So we want to be careful because that is how Pursuit worked for a long time. There was for a very long time, Pursuit basically would give different amounts for you than it stole, and it was just really not used. It was we want it to continue to be used where it's cool that it's being used and it's a fun item, right? So we don't want to just like nerf it into where nobody's going to use it anymore.
Yeah.
So we want to be very careful with it. Like it's getting a very small adjustment in the upcoming patch. We think it's close to being in a good state. It is too strong right now, but I don't think it's too far off. So our initial thoughts is basically let's try to not change how it works, but just change number tuning initially, and then see if we can get it into a good place like that. If we can't, then we certainly will be open to larger changes to how the item works in general. But initially, we want to see if we can get it into a balanced state with its current implementation.
Yeah, one of the big things right now that I love about Pursuit is the fact that not only am I slowing them, I'm speeding myself up. And then all of a sudden I'm zip-zapping around, While inevitability may be a bigger slow, it doesn't give me the move speed, and that's why I personally, as an AD carry, kind of choose Pursuit over it.
Exactly.
So I like the gameplay it affords, and hopefully, it doesn't ever lose that kind of sweet effect. A few more questions, guys. We're about to wrap up. Crisis, you've been asked this question a few times, so I will pose it, even though it may not be a super Gasty question. Is there plans to deal with the Z-axis problems? And the Z-axis thing, I've had the bubble pick up a target that I would have hit, and my Asha Bell Q missed. Come on, Ploots, he says. It's not a me thing. I'm sorry, but it's interesting that you would frame it as a problem. Do we see the Z-axis as kind of a problem, like Cerulean jumping over Ami Wave, bubbles causing crazy things, knockups in general just being kind of weird?
Right. So the Z-axis is polarizing, right? People are there's a camp people which are basically that's really cool gameplay,
Yeah.
and we like that dunggate uses the Z-axis in this way. And there's a camp people who are just
Hate
like
it.
that. It's like the bubble picked up my thing, and then I was screwed, right?
Yeah.
So my philosophy on it is to try to keep the Z-axis, but try to tune it on a per cases basis to match player
Per
expectation.
cases basis.
Per case basis.
I like per cases basis a lot better.
So in the case of the Guardian bubbles, right? The bubbles are designed to the design there is destroy this target while they're CC'd.
Yeah.
If you can't because of the
It's
Z-axis,
sad.
maybe it's picking you up too far, right? Maybe it should just kind of pick you up and move you around a little bit, but not go as high,
Yeah.
right? So
I remember that was a problem that I had in a playtest where like someone got picked up and my Zalgus E missed them while they were at their max height.
Right.
So Gasty and I did some testing and we slowed things down, and it turns out that like if they just didn't go as high, the E would have hit them.
Right.
So like the tuning that can be made to maybe fix that kind of issue is just make it not go so high. But maybe active characters like Cerulean's jump and stuff is a completely different, and that is more of a kind of outplay.
exactly, that's sort of what we want, right? We want to allow the ability to sort of outplay in that way, but for situations with the Guardians bubble, that wasn't designed to, your ability should not miss because the Guardian's picking them up, right? That's designed
The
to help.
Guardian's just like, I'm helping!
Right,
you know?
he's trying his hardest to help, right?
Yeah.
So for specific cases like that, we'll probably adjust it.
Okay. So the last question we'll take is actually from Lee Gringo, because I know a lot of people have talked about this whole thing. But did we talk about pathing? No. And that's your question. That's the end of it. No. In certain areas of the map, doing weird things. Pathing isn't optimal. It's not 100% ideal. But what are we looking at in, if we are, which I'm pretty sure we are, to improve pathing?
So
And where does the wonkiness even stem from?
So the problem stems from, in the early days of dunggate, the nav mesh was auto-generated. So we didn't have super fine-tuned control over fixing fine-tuned pathing problems. Now we have the ability to manually tessellate sections of the nav mesh. So we can fix those problems. If you see a location where routing does something other than what you would expect, we can now fix it. Please post about it on the forums or on the Reddit. Let us know, right? Take a screen capture, be like, I clicked here and my character went this way and I expect them to go this way, or whatever it may be, and we will absolutely address those. It's tech that came in relatively recently, so we've already patched in some adjustments to it, so it should have been improved over the last couple of patches, but it's probably not perfect yet. So
Yeah.
if you still have issues, let us know and we can fix it.
Yeah, I know I've had some sads around bindings and around some certain walls and stuff. Like, man, trying to click in between that binding and that wall, oh, I hate that area so much. My
Right.
character's always like, oh, you want me to walk all the way around into the enemy? Oh, yeah, sure, we'll do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's a constantly improving thing. And again, just like Gasty said, if you experience an issue like that is a specific area of the map that you just constantly feel like you have problems with, let us know. Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, the report bug button, which is still in the front of the client, hit that thing. Let us know.
Has some really pretty UI.
It does. It's gorgeous. But with that being said, that kind of brings us to a close. It's exactly noon, so we did a pretty good job of wrapping this one up.
Excellent timing.
You know how I do. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/thedawngate, facebook.com/thedawngate, and be sure to follow the stream. Hit that button down below. We'll be live tomorrow at around noon. I'll be playing some probably more salty board, solo queue kind of shenanigans. So be sure to tune in then. It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, we're in community beta, so you guys don't need beta keys. So if you're new to the stream and you want to play Dunggate, dunggate.com.
That's right.
Hit that register button.
If you're not playing, please come play the game. You can see sections like the community catch-up here are where we try our best to be very transparent in what's happening internally, what our thoughts are, what our goals are, and we try to take community feedback very seriously. If you guys have great ideas, they could end up in the game. If you have questions, this is a good opportunity to get them answered. So come help make the game better.
Absolutely. But thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate it. Again, since there's no keys, register at dunggate.com. And you can also tell your friends, because a lot of people were like, I want to play with my friend, but he doesn't have a beta key. Now it's like, just give him dunggate.com, and you can play with your friend. Because let's be fair, MOBAs are best when they're played with friends.
They are.
Which is why I don't like playing with Gasty, because we're not friends.
Fuck this guy.
Thank you guys for watching so much. We'll see you guys tomorrow at noon. And in the meantime, go play some Dunggate, go watch some Dunggate, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Victory is in our grasp. Make way.
They go no further.
Put them in the ground.